So, my plan today, I was talking to a coworker and we got to talking about flight simulators because he knows I'm a student pilot or pilot. I don't think he knows for sure what I am one way or the other. But, I started talking to him because he was like, well, how do I like get started in this and get the plane off the ground and do all this other stuff? And I realized like, I probably gave him about half an hour of ground instruction. Um, and, I've got a few of these fancy FAA cards. Um, and one of them, student pilot, and part 107. And then this one here, ground instructor, advanced. So, I started going through the whole curriculum and I realized I could do this on my YouTube channel and people would probably find some benefit to it. So here you go. While I am a ground instructor, this is not going to be formal flight training. The fundamentals I go over do apply to airplanes unless I say otherwise, but you need to know a lot more than I'm telling you in order to safely fly an airplane. Although you might get really close to a Part 107 on some of this, um, because you don't have to know stuff like weight and balance and stuff like that to do drones. You will have to understand METARs and TAFs, and I'm not doing that because you do not have to know those things to use a flight simulator. You don't have to know how NOTAMs work and to use a flight simulator. But you're going to learn some stuff about airspace. You're going to learn some stuff about flight procedures, and you're gonna learn how to fly a like a virtual Cessna 172, and I'm gonna show you glass, uh, the glass panel, as well as the traditional six pack, which is where we're gonna start. But every good um, flight starts with a good flight plan. So the first thing we're gonna do is plan what we're gonna do. It's not like a car where you just get into it and decide to putz around. You kind of need to know how long you're going to be aloft, what directions you're going to go, what airports are open, what runways are open, things like that in order to safely navigate. Because, and again, this is like an FAA requirement, not like a flight sim requirement, but you're going to want to know your entire plan, calculate your fuel consumption, and make sure that you have 30 minutes remaining of fuel at the end of your trip as planned. At night, it would be 45 minutes. For a flight sim, I mean, you can midair refuel it. Like, whatever, you just edit the plane and change how much fuel is in it. And we don't have to worry about whether you're overloading it with fuel with the number of passengers. But anyway, you do want to make sure that when you take off, your endurance is adequate for what you're trying to do and that you do understand, like, you just embarked on a 40-minute long thing. You know, it's not going to take long to do this part, but it's super important. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how I do this. Um, there's numerous resources in my car. I have a flight bag full of paper charts and rulers and protractors and stuff that, you want to do for stage one real flight instruction where you crash if you get it wrong. And then you can use stuff like ForeFlight, but who's paying $100 a year for ForeFlight to just do flight planning for a flight sim? And yeah, you can link it to X-Plane, you can link it to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I do, but it's completely unnecessary if all you're doing is flight sim. It costs more than the flight sim. But um, you always want to start with a plan. And it doesn't have to be a great plan in flight sim because you can just command Q and exit. Um, but let's start from the right place and see if we end up in the right place. So out here, I'm going to go to a website called SkyVector. It's free aeronautical charts. These cover the entire U.S. and beyond. We're going to start, yours will probably pop up with something different. Just follow along with me. We're going to go to KVLL, Oakland, Troy. And that will bring you here. This is the Metro Detroit area. And there's a few things on the chart that you're going to want to know for a successful flight, even in a simulator. You're going to want to know the altitude of the flight, or of this airport in MSL. So right here, KVLL is 727 feet mean sea level. And just to quickly go over it, there's mean sea level, and then there's above ground level. And yeah, there we go. Not so many tabs. So a lot of rules are written with mean sea level in mind, and a lot of them are above ground level. So like in this yellow area, you're supposed to be over 1,000 foot above ground level. In this area, you're supposed to be at 500 feet above ground level. All of these altitudes for the airspaces are in, and the maximum height of obstructions right here are in MSL, mean sea level, as are the airports. And these are tower heights and obstructions in mean sea level and above ground level. So we're going to take off from Oakland, Troy. That's 727 MSL is the ground altitude, 0 AGL. You need to know this because when you're coming in to land, you're going to want to be 1,000. You're going to want to start your pattern about 1,000 feet above ground. So in this case, we would choose 1,700 feet. Over here, we're going to fly to Romeo, and that's at 739 feet. MSL has the ground level altitude, and it has a north-south runway. So that's going to be 0 and 1/8 because the runways are done by take the compass direction of the runway and then take the last digit off. So 180 and so it's 36 and 1/8. Sorry, so it'd be 360 or 36 and 1/8. And over here we're going to be runway. It used to be 9 and 27, and your flight sim may still show that, but it's now 10 and 28 because of the changes of the magnetic North Pole. Because these are magnetic headings, they will change over time. When they resurfaced the runway, they renumbered the runway. So you need 727, 739. So if you're right around 1,700 feet when you're coming into that airport, about 1,700 feet here, you'll do just fine. 1,700, 1,600 feet, you'll be okay. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to do 1,700. En route, we're going to want to get above 1,700. In our real plane, we typically do this around 2,500 feet. And the reason for it is we have obstructions over here that are as high as 2,000 feet MSL. This number right here is the highest obstruction in the area. So, we've got this here at 1120, 1450, 1249, 1234, 1059. We don't want to hit any of these. So we're going to go 500 feet above the highest. And we want to be below 4,000 feet so we don't come into the Detroit Metro Airport Class Charlie down here, which we'll get into later. Technically, no one's going to come and call us and say, pilot deviation, please contact the tower on landing. There's not going to be jets coming and taking us out of the sky if we violate a TFR, like this one right there. But if you're playing VATSIM, you're going to want to follow the airspace rules and things like that and learn how a proper traffic pattern works. So just to do a brief flight plan right here, we're going to take Oakland Tri Airport and click plan here. And that was supposed to bring up the flight plan menu. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We're going to fly to D98 over here, Romeo State Airport. And we're just going to do a quick nav log. So this is going to be at a ground speed of 133 knots. This is going to tell us some stuff based on the current wind conditions and things. We can ignore that. The biggest thing we need to know is that we're going to spend 8 minutes estimated travel time, and it's going to be 17.7 nautical miles. Everything we're doing is in nautical miles. Since we're doing a Cessna, let's just assume it's going to be 10 gallons an hour. It takes less than that, but it's not that far off. We're just going to do round math here. We're going to need to make sure that there's 8 minutes at 10 gallons. It's not much. But still, if we were doing a longer trip, this stuff matters. So during our flight, which is from here to here, we're going to probably just take off on 28 because that's, typically the winds in this area are like west to east. Now, I'm going to just turn off wind because, we're just trying to start out, show you how it works. You don't need to try and figure out cross-land landings or anything like that yet. We'll do that later. And, we're going to depart to the north. We're going to look for some things like, in some areas, this is your VFR sectional. We have the Detroit terminal area chart, and that gives us a little more detail. And it gives us some stuff like this train track right here, which is good to know about. And it shows us shopping mall, water tower. And this stuff's here too. That's what this line is a train track. Or not sure if that's the train track or if it's Woodward. I'm pretty sure it's the train track. Might be Woodward on this map. But here that's a train track and that's Woodward. It's very clear. So we're going to turn north. And then what we're going to do is look for this Stony Creek right here, the lake. It's going to be really obvious when we get up to altitude. And if we kind of continue on course, we're going to head towards Stony Creek. And then when we get over Stony Creek, we're going to kind of look to our, like maybe 1 o'clock or so. We're going to get to the Romeo State Airport. And there's going to be a bunch of farmland and other stuff around here. There's going to be some roads. The problem with X-Plane is not all this detail shows up. So, but now we know it's what we need to do. We need to be at an altitude of 2,500 feet because we're going to avoid pretty much anything in this general area. There's some stuff out here that's at 2,000, so why don't we just avoid it? Technically, we could probably go 2,000 around here, but with stuff at 1120, I'd rather just be at 2,500 feet and I don't have to worry about it. Um, and so, yeah, we'll be looking at a north-south runway. So I think my plan is we're going to go on 28. We're going to take off, depart to the right, go north, aim for Stony Creek Lake like this. Then we're going to look for Romeo State and we're going to intercept the runway, enter, and I'm not sure which direction we'll land. We'll kind of flesh it out when we get there because it's a still day. So on to the next video, we're going to talk about doing a basic pre-flight on your flight sim. And as crazy as that sounds, having had some mishaps because my controls were wrong or my stuff wasn't plugged in right, it's frustrating. And it's very easy to fix that. So watch me on the next video and we'll go over that.